Hello everyone, welcome back to the Tottenham on Tour Advent Calendar. This is day number two. It's just the Tottenham on Tour boys for this one. So we're going to have a bit more of a free-flowing one. It's just going to be laughs and jokes and all good times. Day number two is going to be a really fun one. It's a very important number in the football.
It's stacked, isn't it, Ben? It's stacked.
It's a stacked well in every team because it's the first 11's always going to be stacked because those are important numbers. But
it's true.
How are you doing, Mr. Ireland?
I'm doing well, mate. I'm doing well. It's just early, getting into December. You're starting to get a bit colder in Toronto, so getting used to that. But yeah, doing all right, man. Doing all right.
Good stuff. And Aki,
yes, brother.
What is happening? You've still got the green hat on. It's Christmas. I've got the Tottenham Spurs Christmas jumper.
Damn right. I love
You're
it.
Looking sharp there, Ben. You're looking sharp.
I've got to say, I love it that the two Jewish guys have got a Christmas hat and a Christmas jumper, and Ireland in a t-shirt. That's brilliant.
I'm a secular guy, so I don't do the religion
That's
thing.
called
That doesn't
irony, right?
It is. But yeah, day two we have some big hitters in this one.
Big ones, yeah.
We most certainly do. But it's Tottenham on Tour Advent Calendar. So how do we start these shows? With a Christmas cracker joke. So we'll start with you, Mr. Ireland. It's time for your Christmas cracker one. You'll go first and get the ball rolling.
All right, mine is it's to do with athleticism. So what athlete is the warmest during the winter?
Ooh, I don't know.
It's on theme. It's a long jumper.
I was thinking winter sports. I was thinking biathlon, hockey, and it was the other way around.
Yeah,
that's a good one. That's a good one.
I like that one. I was pretty happy about it.
It's a really good one.
All right,
Brian.
Okay.
What is your one?
Why did Santa's helper go to the doctor?
I don't know.
Why did Santa's helper go to the doctor? I can't think of it.
Because he had low elf esteem.
Okay.
Low elf esteem. Okay. What do you got for us, Ben? What's your cracker joke?
This day's one is going to be a pretty decent one, but it's who hides in the bakery at Christmas?
I think I know this one.
Yeah?
If you do, go for it. I don't.
I think I do know this one, and I know this one because I can remember my grandpa telling me this one. It's a mince pie.
Yeah, that's the one.
Mince pie. Clever.
That's a good one. But it's day number 2.
Come for the joke, stay for the content.
Exactly. We are not very good at these jokes, but it's lovable, right? It's lovable. It's day number 2. It's the right backs, and maybe someone that isn't a right back. Let us know who you think that's going to be. But who's our first player, Mr. Daigle?
We are going way back into time. It's Peter Baker, and as we can see, we won't know a lot about him. We won't be able to speak about all or seeing him. But as we can see, he had quite an illustrious career at Tottenham Hotspur. You win the double. I will say I found out because we had to do a bit of research. I've just found out that he actually went to the same secondary school as me. He went to Southgate School, so. He's a shining example of what a good education and everything can do. I am on the other end of that spectrum. Good. But I didn't know that about him till just now. So yeah, he's a proper North London boy. Went to my secondary school, which is literally across the road from my parents' house. So back in the day, he would have walked the road that I lived on.
Yeah.
Impressive career. This was when Spurs were one of the best teams, if not the best team in the country. He played at the time winning the double, the FA Cups, Cup Winners' Cup. He was around for some big stuff. And And I love that kit. You know, bring up that picture again. That kit,
Yeah, the original.
that's sharp. It's like the classic lily white with the,
Look
with
at
the
the
black and
haircut
white
as
logo.
well. That's a proper haircut as well.
And the hair. I mean, that's kind of like mine. He's kind of
He is.
he's kind
He's
of
going
pissing
on
it
the
on
other
Ireland
way,
there.
Ireland. Is that it's in homage? Yeah, that's what I'm gonna call your hair now.
Yeah, the Peter Baker.
You are the Peter Baker of Tottenham on tour officially.
I'll take it. He's a handsome fella and he's a good footballer, obviously. So you know,
And he's won a lot.
I'm into
Unlike
it.
some of the other people on this list, but
Yeah,
that was typical of football back in the day. You played for your local team most of the time, and that Southgate and Tottenham. That's like how many stops is that on the train? It's
but they're not on the same. They're not on the same. Obviously,
line.
but they're very, very. Listen,
really short bus trip.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is.
it's a Southgate. You're either Tottenham or Arsenal.
Yeah.
It's just like you've got other teams, but the majority. It's very good when we're all going to see players on this advent calendar where there's going to be some players, unless we have people of certain generations that have seen him. We're going to be even look. Me and Ireland are both older than you. We wouldn't have seen him at all.
The lad was born in 1931, so
Yeah.
I can imagine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's great to use this advent calendar we're doing to honour and speak about some people that I'm sure there's a lot of people that will watch this that wouldn't know anything about him, and we can say we've been educational as well as festive, as well as
We are totally educational here on Tottenham on Tour, with all the screaming, the shouting, the pointing, the fingers. We are educational. We've done really well, but seeing as cannot totally be fully transparent with you guys, we'll go on to the next player who you might possibly have seen.
This
You wouldn't have
person,
seen him as a player, you would have seen him as a coach.
correct. This guy, here we go, Chrissy Hughton, and I had to pick this picture.
Look at that hair. That hair is brilliant.
Mate, the hair,
That's how I used to have.
What an afro, proper
The
afro
hair.
there.
the kit, and I had to pick that because
You
that
picked
is
it because of his bollocks, didn't you? That's what's going on.
no. I took that because that was the game Ricky Villa scored his great goal, and we
Oh,
won
was it?
one of the most iconic FA Cup
Same
finals
game.
ever. I mean, Ben, as you said, player and coach for us, wasn't he?
Yeah. I mean, that's how I remember Chrissy Hughton. He was the right-hand man of Martin Yole for many years.
Yep.
And then furtherly going on to manage teams like Newcastle and Brighton, Norwich. He was a very decent coach. He never managed at a top club, but if you needed someone to get you promoted, he made your team defensively solid because he was a great defender. Like, people don't realise how good of a defender he was at left and right back. Like, if you put him in a defensive line, you weren't getting past him. This was a top quality player for club and country because he played for the Republic of Ireland. As you all know, he was very good. He was a top player. He is a really top player and a very decent coach indeed. You would probably know more about him than I do, boys. Because
well, what I'll say about him is, first of all, thankfully, throughout my lifetime, I've got to meet a fair few of the Spurs players, whether it be my uncle used to be one of the chief photographers within the club and the restaurant next to it, the Chanticleer, if people remember it. Also, they used to go to my dad's menswear shops. I've met a few of them, and obviously, growing up when you used to go to the training ground, Chris Hughton is one of the nicest men you could ever meet across the pond. He is such a gentleman. He is such a nice human being. And whenever I talk about Chris Hughton, my dad sees Chris Hughton, any of this 81, 82 FA Cup winning team, or the 81 FA Cup when we beat Man City, my dad tells me I was 2 years old, but my dad tells me there's 2 times where he thinks he could have a shot at the Guinness Book of World Records for downing a bottle of whiskey. And the 81 FA Cup final, and Chris Hughton was a part of that, and the 84 UEFA Cup final, which he was a part of, are the 2 times where, and anyone in that team is like a legend to my dad. And I've seen things with him. He's very attacking, very, very attacking. You got to remember, this is before players like a couple of goals.
12 goals from defenders is a good return for sure.
Yeah, he was a very, very good player, and like I said, a charming man as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, just to add to it, I mean, I don't have a lot to say other than his coaching careers, where I got to know him as well and learned about his playing career as well, obviously, with a little bit of research and learning more about the club. Seems like a wonderful man. He was a caretaker manager for Spurs in 97, 98. I don't know how long that lasted for. Maybe you guys know how long it was, but he was caretaker for. But I mean, he's obviously just really good with people and just a solid man, and you know, a player that can do that can go into coaching at that level. And he's coached for Newcastle, for Republic of Ireland, Birmingham City, Norwich, Brighton, Hove Albion. He was, when Brighton started to get good, he was the reason for it. So
yeah,
I do recognize the level that he's at and the level that he's coached at and played at. So wonderful player, wonderful human,
really
and wonderful coach as well.
Yeah, really good coach, especially great for obvious reasons. He's just a solid bloke. But it's now time to go to a player who we will definitely know. This is a player I watched when I was a wee nipper.
This guy.
Stephen Carr, my lord. Stephen Carr. This was a player I watched when literally in my first ever footsteps of watching Tottenham Hotspur play at the old White Hart Lane, going with my dad when we only really had 2 season tickets, because my dad just took me as a kid. But he was still playing and doing well. 1999 League Cup final, I believe it was. This was a top player. Like, people don't realise. I had 226 appearances. 226 appearances for Tottenham. This was a top right back, absolute monster back in the day. Player for Newcastle as well. I don't know, was he part of the entertainers team? I think he was, right?
No, so with him, basically, like you said, Ben, I'll kind of piggyback what you said. This is one of the best right backs I've seen at Tottenham in my lifetime. And listen, with right backs and the way that they defend and the way the game is played has obviously evolved over the generations, even through our short time of watching football in the grand scheme of things, whether it be they defend or they really attack or they play wing. There's so many variations. This guy had it all. This guy, and you have one particular scene, we'll all remember that smash against Manchester United. Yeah. I was actually trying to find the picture when he took that shot, but I couldn't find it to put on here. And also he scored an incredible chip against Sunderland, I think it was, where he ran the whole pit. This guy he was a small guy, but he had power. He was fearless. He was quick. He was a shot. He could provide. He could do everything. And unfortunately, which was a common theme and still has been, unfortunately, with this football club, is he wanted to go somewhere where they could challenge for honours. Loved the club, but wanted to move to a bigger team, and then obviously moved to Newcastle and picked up a serious injury. He left under a cloud. A lot of Spurs fans were fuming, me being one of them, that he left. I wish he had stayed his career at Tottenham. I think we would have won a lot more than a League Cup if he had stayed and built on him. But obviously the powers that be. But what a player. Ireland?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know a ton about him because I wasn't able to watch him at the time that he was playing for, but just doing a little bit of research on him, he had an incredible career at Spurs, and then bad knee injury at, I think it was around 2001, and he was out for quite some time. Yep. And then he came back, and then the other teams were in for him, and that's when I think the cloud was kind of there. It's like he came back, and everybody was sort of expecting him to get back into the side and you know, crack on from where he was, and then ended up moving to Newcastle. So it seemed like a wonderful player. I mean, if he was looking for honors, I don't know, Newcastle in 2000, where were they at? Were they challenging for honors at that point? Or is it more of a...
They were just on the way down at that point.
Right. So there was the potential to try to stay at a level, and he would help him get there. Yeah, wonderful player from what I've seen, and you know, I think it was Ardiles that brought him in too. So interesting relationship there with Argentinian coach Ozzy Ardiles, and player that brought him in to Tottenham. So yeah, good looking player, great statistics, and looks like a player that I'm sorry I missed.
I will say as well, very quickly, Stephen Cole, even if Newcastle were on the way down, when you're going to a club that's got Alan Shearer in it, you always think, right, I'm in with a chance. Newcastle are still a massive club, but yeah, I was so upset when he left. So upset. One of my first heartbreaks for a player leaving.
Yeah. Oh, I was 6 at the time, so I don't really remember what I was eating for dinner.
You were bawling your eyes out. I don't know what's happening.
Yeah, I could remember I was 6 years old. I was more fascinated about Teddy Sheringham at that point because he was my guy. But he was a great player for Tottenham. He was great.
I think what you've got to add to that, Ben, as well, sorry to cut you off there, is that goal against Manchester United, the weather, the run, the power of that shot, that will be one of the, I think, fiercest shots ever struck at White Hart Lane. That ball was a rocket against the very dominant Manchester United team.
Yeah.
He tore them apart that day. Tore them apart.
Yeah. We will, Stephen Carr, my lord. Top player for his
Stephen Carr, my lord.
my lord. What a song.
Stephen
That's
Carr.
one of the best Tottenham songs ever. I love that song. But it's
great.
time to move to someone who's a bit more of the modern era. This is, again, is another one of my era.
This is one as well that Ireland is going to be able to speak very heavily about.
Yeah.
Even probably more so than us, in all honesty, because he can. We're talking about, of course, Clint Dempsey. We talked about one of the most iconic photos as well. That just a perfect picture. Didn't have him for long, but Ireland, let's go to you first this time, because obviously you're going to know a lot more about this guy. And
Short and sweet his career at Tottenham, but he's had one of the longest football careers of an American who's played in a lot of different places. Played at Seattle Sounders before he went to Tottenham. Was just smashing it, absolutely smashing it in the MLS, and he was the best striker in the league by far. Hence why he ended up at Tottenham and why we were interested in him. He was at a level that was above everybody else. When he came to BMO Field, which is where TFC play, my local club. I watched him play against us and suffer with him in the team because he was just so bloody good. And when he went to Spurs, I was like, we've got somebody here. This is a player that we should be happy about, because he's going to come off the bench if he's not starting, and he's going to wreak havoc. And he does that. He's a proper 9, like in the box. Really good hold up play, strong on the ball, turns really well, can take a great shot, gets in between lines and creates. So it's just he had a lot of game, like a lot of proper old school kind of that number 9 football. And some of the goals he scored for Spurs were iconic and fantastic as well. So wonderful player, a little bit of a quirky attitude, not to take it down any notches, but he was known for being a little bit on the edge sometimes. Yeah, but I like that. I mean, I like a player that does that, because it gives them grit, it gives them determination. Obviously, you don't want it to go over the line in certain cases, but yeah, wonderful player and had a lot. It's too bad. I feel like he could have played for Tottenham for longer, or maybe maybe if his career at Spurs started a bit earlier, season or two earlier, it would have been longer. But yeah, he came in and scored some iconic goals for us, and it was a great player.
I think he was a great utility player in his career. I think you mentioned that he was more of a striker. I think at Fulham he played a lot off the left because they have other forwards in that area.
Yeah, he's versatile, definitely.
When he came to Tottenham, he was just a great utility player. He's got the one of the goals at Old Trafford when AVB won, that amazing run from Bale when he just split the entire, got the ball and was like, I'm scoring. But he got one of the winning goals of that. He got the winning goal of that game because that game finished 2-1. But great utility player for Tottenham. He got the best tap-in I've ever seen away at Stoke City, where he scored a tap-in from 30 yards out. Like, literally fell over, he hit it, and he went in the back of the net. It was brilliant. I remember that. I was on the way home, so I watched it. But what do you think about Clint Dempsey, Aki? It's a really, he was good. And he should have been at Tottenham longer, in my opinion. He wanted to go home, so I understand it.
Yeah.
What you got to look at with him, and it's still to this day, I find it so quirky that we're in a day and age right now where you see and we hear midfielders going, are they a 6 or an 8? Are they this or that? Like, midfielders are this number, strikers are this number.
Yeah.
The fact he wore this number and he wanted it because of his nickname Deuces, it's still weird. It's still weird. If I said to anyone, without saying, Clint Dempsey played for Spurs, and if you didn't know, get to know. And you were like, literally, what number did this player wear? And you told him his nationality, his position, or various positions. I don't think a single person would say 2. Not a single person.
He wore number 23 at Fulham, yeah, and then he wore 2 the rest of his career. So it was
exactly. He wanted that number. Like you've all said, listen, you look at that goal return: 29 games, 7 goals. I actually, when we were doing the background work for this, and I said to Ireland, how many games? He went 29. I was like, what?
Yeah, it seems odd when you look at it. You're like, how did that happen? It was New England Revolution who he was playing for in the MLS before he came to Premier League, and it was Fulham for a season, and then he
went back to Seattle as well, didn't he? He started playing in Seattle.
He went back and played at Seattle for 5 years, and then blew up the league with Seattle. So my apologies for that. I got that wrong.
I know the one thing I will say as well is I've seen him regularly on American networks or North American networks, should I say, doing like the punditry for like Sky or whatever. And I've seen him on Sky. He is so pro Tottenham.
Yeah,
he is so,
he loves it.
He loves the football club, and for a player that's only. What you got to remember is that this club does leave a mark on some players. Some positive, or a lot positive, some negative. Clint Dempsey took all the positives, and it's great to see. I actually look forward to. We all know if you see a Michael Owen or see someone like that, you're like, oh, here we go. We know that this punditry is going to be
biased as hell.
Yeah,
awful.
Clint Dempsey, you're like, I want to listen to him. So keep up the good work, Clint.
He had a great couple of laughs with Micah Richards. On I think he was on Sky Sports on Monday Night Football, and he was really funny. He's
a clever lad. He's a funny guy for sure.
This is a guy you'd actually, if you saw him in the street, you could shake his hand and have a chat about football, and he would love to. I think he seems like the sort of guy that would like to talk with,
without a doubt.
For sure.
It's time to go to one of those players that I like. You were talking about Stephen Carr earlier.
Yeah,
I was gutted when this man left.
Same.
Gutted. This is the best right back I've ever seen play football. Like,
do you mean ever or Tottenham?
No, through my own eyes.
Okay.
Through my own eyes. And I've seen some good players. I mean, I saw Mike on, and this guy was better. Like, this guy, he's still now at Manchester City pulling up trees at his age.
Yeah,
this is
incredible.
An absolute god tier right back. One of the best footballers we've ever seen play for Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. I was so annoyed that he went for, not only did he leave, he went for £50 million.
Yep.
Like, if you bought Kyle Walker now, it's 150. Homegrown, like, plays every game. He's had a couple of injury problems now that he's hitting the end of his career and he's a fast player. Everything this man does turns to gold, and it's such a shame we've had one of the best right backs in English football, and they've won absolutely nothing. Tottenham gone to Man City and won absolutely everything: Premier Leagues, the Champions League, League,
FA Cup, the whole works.
Community Shields. He's won everything, and he was part of the best back four I've seen play for Tottenham, which was him, Toby, Jan and Danny Rose, with Hugo Lloris in goal. What do you think, Mr. Ireland, about Kyle Walker? Like, this is
I mean, I was gonna just to add to what you said. I mean, for me, one of the best in that position we've seen in the Premier League. He had as a young lad, he had a couple of mistakes at him here and there, and we're always kind of on him a little bit for that. But he cleaned that up, and when Poch came in and just shredded that right side, his pace going forward and backward, like he was able to get to touch line, put a ball in, or track back when he just either somebody made a mistake or he did, which sometimes happens. And his pace is absurd. He's so quick. Very intelligent footballer, especially you've seen him under Pep for as long as you've been with City, but just an intelligent IQ from a footballing perspective. He can really think about the game, and you could see his mind ticking and where to pass the ball and making good decisions, which he's improved on as he's gotten older. I loved him as a player. I loved that team, that back four, the best back four in the country at the time, and one of the best back four I've ever seen as well. I mean, you put those four in their peak together in that moment, and it was like wow. I mean, everybody talked about who we had going forward, but arguably the reason for it was having that base,
solid base
to work from, that you could pass the ball from the back, they could get up the pitch, they could get they could overlap, underlap, all the things that you want to see from a wing back in a system that is it's perfectly built for players with pace and intelligence. So brilliant player. It was fantastic for Spurs, and like you, gutted gutted when he left. I knew when he left that was the downfall of what we knew about Spurs at the time was going to change completely.
I remember seeing this Carl Walker come into the team, and he was a bit rash, but then he went to Aston Villa on loan, and basically he played Aston Villa, and it was basically I don't know who was.
I think was it Northampton on loan? Did we send him on loan?
No, we sent him on Villa.
2011, yeah.
Which is funny because Carl Norton was supposed to be the better one, and he was awful. But we bought Carl. Or he went on loan to Aston Villa, and he locked down that side as I don't know how old he was. I don't know if he was 18, 19, 20. Like, he was an absolute beast at his age. And then when he came back into that team, he was just an absolute brilliant footballer.
Owned it, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, absolute brilliant. What do you think about Mr. Carl Walker, Mr. Daigle?
Well, mate. So first of all, like you just alluded to, the fact that when he came in a double act with Carl Norton, and Carl Norton was the one eyed for success. Can you just imagine if Carl Norton had been the one? How good they would have been. Carl Walker even sometimes played up in right midfield, so there could have been, but that's besides the point. One of the quickest players the Premier League has ever seen, still to this day.
His pace was electric.
It's unbelievable. A lot, like Ireland said, he made mistakes, and he still does. But the thing is, he's got the pace to get himself out of trouble. Some of it's frightening. I'll tell you one thing: you see, he is a genuine joker. He is a proper character within the dressing room.
Yeah.
That last season, like we've all spoken about it, he was the whole team was breathtaking. But I keep trying to find it. If anyone that watches this can find this, there is a pass he makes in our final season against the Lane. I just can't remember if it was Aston Hull, West Ham, or who was the other thing? But he did a 50-yard outside of the foot pass along the grass that literally backspan right back into, I can't remember who it was, but it's one of the greatest passes of a football I've ever seen in my life.
Which is funny, we've not even mentioned his goal against the Arsenal in his earlier career when he was still wearing the number 28. That goal outside the box.
Just smashed it. Yeah.
Outside the box, outside of the foot, bottom corner, crowd go absolutely mental.
The thing, the one I actually remember more is people remember he scored a cracking free kick against Blackburn.
Yep, I remember that.
Paul Robinson was in goal for it, my favourite Spurs goalkeeper. He scored that long shot against United in the game that Sandro scored a thunderbolt. He chipped in with goals as well. I mean, we see 4 there, but he created so much. He was dependable. And that last season, and what I will say with him, he'd given us 7 or 8 years, I think it was. He'd been saying for a while.
He didn't want to leave.
Yeah, he didn't want to leave. He'd been saying for a while he wants to go back up to near Sheffield and be closer to his family. And after 7-8 years of service, you're kind of like, okay. I mean, 50 million at the time was the most expensive British defender at that time. And Man City have had a bargain. They have had a £50 million bargain. It was very upsetting to see him go. But again, like Ireland said, it was the
reason he left is because Poch wouldn't guarantee him first team football. Like on that was
Trippier.
Video. We all saw the video of him. And they were all having a chat, and Carl Walker flatly stared down the camera and said, "Tottenham till I die." He loved this football. He absolutely adored being a Tottenham Hotspur football player. So it's just a shame we had to let him go. We didn't let him go. We got decent money for him then, but now, in hindsight, we should be asking for 200. He's been the best right back the Premier League has ever seen.
He's definitely up there, isn't he? He's definitely if you're
he's in that conversation for sure, 100%. Yep.
He's definitely in the equation. But yeah, that's you look at it. That's 4 right backs and a striker / winger for day number 2, isn't it? That's a wrap.
Brilliant, tons of fun, guys. Thanks for being here.
We can't really say where we're going to find ourselves because we're
going to find us tomorrow because tomorrow is day 3. So make sure you tune in to day 3, and we'll see you then.
Exactly. What day of the week is day 2 actually?
Don't check right now, Brad. This
No,
is
I
very
think it's
unprofessional.
Saturday, so there will be no cockerel doodle do, so to say, to watch. But yeah,
Find us somewhere. But thank you all so much for watching. We'll be back for day number 3 of the Tottenham on Tour Advent Calendar. Thank you all so much for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your holiday season if you don't catch any more of these. And we will see you in the next one. Ciao for now.
Peace out.